This is a Brooklyn-bound 2 train. The next stop is Wall Street.
Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Not Your Advisor with NYU Grad on Wednesday, May 29th. A lot to cover, so I'm going to jump right into the breath numbers. I do want to apologize if you hear sirens in the background. I live in the financial district, very close, walking distance basically, to the Hush Money trial, which wrapped up closing arguments today. So there's just a lot of police activity, a lot of road closures, and just a lot of chaos going on. So that's what that is if you hear sirens in the background. But taking a look at breath numbers today, we had 126 new highs versus 259 new lows in the session. 17% of stocks were advancing versus 80% declining today. Looking at the 50-day moving average, 55% were below its 50-day and 38% of stocks were below its 200-day moving average. Now, taking a look across the indices, everything closed red. The Russell and the Dow led to the downside, and we also closed across the board near the lows of the session. So that wasn't good because it was trying to carve out a range, especially on the S&P and the NASDAQ, but at the last 10 minutes of the session, the rug was pulled out underneath new bulls. Taking a look at mega caps, you had pretty much everything red except for a few names. I'll give you the green first. NVIDIA was up 0.81%, but it was up more than that during the midday of the session. Eli Lilly was up 0.45%. Merck was up marginally. CRM reports after hours, so it was up marginally, waiting for earnings. Uber was up like 2.2%, and Dell was one of the biggest winners. And I'll go through those in the biggest winners and losers. I think I'm going to call today's episode A Storm is Coming, Baby, in honor of Stormy Daniels. We might get a decision by the jury as early as tonight. So that obviously, whichever way that goes, may increase volatility in the overnight session, whether he's found guilty or whether he's found innocent, or regardless of those outcomes, what is the penalty if he's guilty? Is he going to have to do jail time? If he's innocent, and then obviously I think, and I don't want to get political here, but it's going to impact the market. I think Biden has already stated that he's going to address the nation from the Oval Office regardless of the decision on this, which, and again, I'm not being political here. It just is odd to me that the opponent of Trump's, camp, talks more about Trump than Trump supporters. It's very odd to me. But anyway, keep going on here. I've asked Gemini to paint a watercolor painting of the stock market today, and guess what it drew? I'll post the image, but it's a crumbling circus tent. I'm just kidding. I asked it to just watercolor draw a circus tent falling apart. Just having some fun. And one of my good friends, Tim Knight at Slope of Hope, had a very spicy X post that today will be the price peak of NVIDIA. Yeah, so I don't know if that's going to be the case or not, but I put a poll in the show notes. Is this call crazy? Maybe. Is it a yes? Or you're just here for to count votes? So let me know. Let's keep peeling the onion, shall we? So the summary of the day. Now, I gave out a free lesson last week for Vold and Breath. VOLD is the ticker. This calculates the NYSE up volume versus down volume each day. I typically look at it as a 5-minute chart, and each day it resets and it starts from 0. So if there's net volume higher, it's green bars. If it's net volume lower, it's red bars. And if you did not listen to that free lesson, you can pause this and go listen to that free Vol D lesson and come back to this. But the point that I'm making here is that it works. It's a great barometric pressure reading for intraday breadth. And the way that I use this today, I have a few short positions on right now. And typically when you have a lot of gains in a day, like today, like whether it's like 15%, 25% gains in some positions, I usually will book it. But I'm watching Vol D across the board throughout the session, as well as some other indicators, and look at the Vol D chart intraday. It never really stopped going down. It was just a consistent bleed out. It was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bars of the whole day in a 5-minute chart. The whole day, 5 green bars. Every other bar was red. And look at the last 10 minutes. It just tanked on the volume. So sellers waited, were selling all day, but the high volume of selling waited to the last 10 minutes of the session. So the way I use this is, okay, I'm not going to close my shorts. I'm not going to initiate new longs, right? Like I'm not going to try to catch a falling knife, because if you look at the ES or the NQ, right after the opening bell, it carved out a beautiful, predictable range, a balance area in the 5-minute time frame. You see here that it spent most of the time near the middle of this range, called the high volume node. It's a bell curve of distribution. And if you look at the peaks of this range, or the edges at the top, it kissed like 52.98 4 times. It spent almost no time there. If you look at the bottom, it kissed like 52.85, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. And it didn't really spend much time there. This is a 5-minute chart. Majority of the time is going back and forth, back and forth. And I was thinking to myself, okay, if I close my shorts and we rally here because we're oversold, maybe I'll bite on some new longs. Maybe I'll add to my silver position. Maybe I'll buy the QQQ. Maybe I'll buy NVIDIA. But Vol D kept me out of that type of decision. I had 0 trades today. 0. I watched the market. I created content. I read a little bit in the afternoon. I made my lunch. 0 trades today. And Vol D, I give credit to it. So that's how I use it in the intraday basis. What else stuck out? The 10-year yield is above 4.6%. This is why I religiously say watch yields, watch the 10-year, because however way the yields go, risk assets go opposite. So, when we were down at 4.2, I was like, look, maybe we'll go under 4%, and that'll be great for bulls. But if we go back above 4.5%, that's risk off for me. And that's what happened. We're now above 4.5%. We're at 4.6 something. If we go above 4.7, we're likely going to go back to 5%. And I, if you've been following me for a while, I've been saying to you all of this data that all of us are on pins and needle about inflation. Are they going to rate cut 6 times, 0 times? It's all BS. The real rate of inflation is not really slowing down, okay? You and I know this. You and I go to the grocery store, we travel, we buy crap. The government and the Federal Reserve are not telling us the real data. They in Wall Street are trading off fantasy data, and they're playing with words. They're saying, oh, we want to get to the rate of inflation rise down to 2 point whatever percent, not the inflation rate. That is the rate of increase of inflation. So we'll still be increasing inflation when they get to their target of 2%, whenever that's going to be. But you and I both know the real rate of inflation is above double digits right now. And the bond market and the market in general may do Jerome Powell's job for him, and we may go above 5% on the 10-year sooner than later. I just filled up my gas tank over the weekend, and I have a very small car since I live in the city, and it was $55 for 93 octane. I think with the summer season, the driving season, if oil or gas prices continue to increase, the leaders in power now may have an issue. That's why you always read about, they're, sucking out the reserves for crude oil to lower the gas pump prices, but they're still rising. So they better suck harder. Other things that stood out, we closed at the lows, as I mentioned. American Airlines dragged the Dow down. American Airlines is down 13.5% today. They're having some issues there. So let me go through what was strong and what was weak. What was strong, this is all percents. The volatility index was up 10%. Dell up 7.9%. Kava up 6.99%. The SOX S ETF, which is short semiconductors, was up 6.6%. UVXY was up 5.6%. TZA, which is inverse, Russell 2000 was up 4.4%. I have a VIX call that I'm watching here. That was up 4.5%. I have an Affirm Holdings put that I'm watching was up 3.9%. DRV was up 3%. FAZ was up 2.7%. TBT, which is basically yields, up 2.33%. And Uber was up 2.2%. Let's see. What was weak? A lot. I'm going to try to get this as fast as I can. Keep in mind, this is all percents, okay? GameStop down 10.6. Sweetgreen 5.1. Instacart 4.03. ACMR 4.03. SMCI 4. AMD 3.7. BITU 3.5, EX 3.5, Coinbase 3.4, ARM 3.4, ASML 3.4, MicroStrategy 3.3, Harmony Gold 3.1, Affirm Holdings 3.1, Hovanian 3, Intel 2.9, Gold, Barrick Gold, ticker symbol GOLD, down 2.98, Beazer Homes 2.9, Extreme Networks 2.8, Natural Gas Futures 2.7, Kinross Gold 2.5, GDX 2.5, CarMax 2.49, Wayfair 2.48, KRE Regional Banks 2.4, GDXJ 2.3, Marathon Digital 2.36, Wheaton Precious Metals 2.3, Qualcomm 2.2, VinFast Autos 2.2, UCO 2.2, Pan American Silver 2.16, UPRO 2.13, PJT Partners 2.12. So for the free members, it's going to be very important on Thursday to watch initial jobless claims in the morning at 8:30. GDP numbers are coming out for Q1. The first revisions will be out as well at 8:30. You have retail inventories and wholesale and pending home sales and more Fed heads talking in the afternoon. Continue to watch yields, especially the 10-year. Continue to watch the Magnificent Seven and the Semiconductor Group. I've linked Economic Calendar, where I get this data from, on who's speaking tomorrow and what data is coming out tomorrow. I've linked TrueUp.io tech layoffs. That's picking up. I've linked credit card delinquency rates. That's picking up. I've also linked Indeed.com job data series. So job opening numbers are declining, and the true rate of unemployment, which is above 24%. So with that, I will see you all after the Thursday session. For premium members, please stay on so we can go through some charts today. That's my train.
Stand clear of the closing doors, please.